Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. Ooh, my goodness, what a day and what a night this is. I forgot to put my headphones in, so I'm going to have to do it while I'm on with you. I was so anxious to get on to speak to you because today has been an awesome day. Just an awesome day. I mean, it's what is it? Have you thought about this day actually? Just, thinking. Have you thought about the day? It's the 3rd month. Today is the 13th, and it is 2013. Imagine that. 3-13-13. All threes. And we have Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio of Argentina as our new Pope. And he took the name of Pope Francis I. Wow. It takes me back to my show that I did on the Diana Wright Show years ago. And the title of the show was Men of the Cloth. And I'm actually sorry I don't have that show right now because they're being switched over to digital, and it's taking a little longer than we thought it would. Because we did a program called Men of the Cloth, and I had a Jesuit priest on that show. I'm speaking of him now, and I'm just seeing him. The humility, the intelligence that he had, and the respect of the audience that was there. Just captivated. He captivated the entire show. Outshined all the other priests and pastors that were on the stage. So it's so incredible to see that the new Pope, oh my goodness, Jesuit. So he gave up his limousine and his car in Argentina, took the bus with the regular people. He gave up his palace and lived in a humble, small apartment, and they stress that, small. You could feel the excitement today in Rome, and when you looked at St. Peter's Square, my goodness, when I was standing in my office at 2:08 when I saw that smoke, that white smoke, and I was going nuts, and I'm going, okay, are you Catholic or what? It was such an exciting feeling to see something like that. Yes, I saw the other popes, but this was different. It was different because a pope actually resigned and no one actually died. So there was no mourning and then joy. It was just pure joy. And that is something I just thought was so incredible. People were happy, people were crying, people were laughing, people were jumping for joy. It was just filled with electric excitement and jubilation in Rome. Makes you want to feel like you want to become a Catholic. And don't laugh at what I said just now, because we're told that Pope Francis I is actually a great evangelist. So he might just be convincing all of us to become Catholics. It was absolutely incredible. I love the way he just kind of dismissed the pomp and the pageantry of the red, overlay on his clothing, and came out in his white robe with such humility. And we're told that he's quite intelligent, and of course his fight for all his life has always been as a Jesuit, because if you know anything about Jesuits, they give up all that they have. And the fact that he called himself Francis I. Francis, as you know, is someone who gave up all his crown and glory and decided to go be with the poor and take care of the poor. So it's just wonderful to see basically, 1.2 billion Catholics. I can just imagine, and I saw the pictures on CNN and on MSNBC with, the electrifying celebration in Argentina, but I just hope and wished I was there. For the first time, I actually wish I was in the midst of that crowd, even though I don't like crowds. Anyway, welcome to the Diana Wright Show live online, and thank you so much for joining us. And this was indeed a wonderful day, an historical day, a day of numbers, 3-13-13. How many of you actually realize that today was March 3rd, the 13th day, and the year 2013? Wow, 3-13-13, numbers, the day of numbers. I always kind of reflect when people talk about, oh, 13 is not a good number. And I love 13. It's my lucky number. It's my number. Always claimed that number. So when people are talking about, oh, 13, Friday the 13th, and this the 13th, and oh, so no, nothing good is going to happen to me this year because it's the 13th. And I'm like, no, it's a great number. And look at today. The amount of things that happened today. In Italy. I am positive that all eyes were on Italy waiting for that white smoke, including myself. And I stood up and I watched, and I kept getting a little impatient because I kept saying, okay, now it's going to be, oh, hello, the time, you know. After the smoke, I was there waiting and I couldn't wait anymore. I had to leave, so I had to listen to it on my satellite radio. And it was like almost an hour before they actually named him. And what a shock it was. Someone from South America. Everyone was predicting it would be coming back to Italy because this is the third time in a row that it's not an Italian pope. So I think everyone, including, I heard Chris Matthews saying that he was hoping and predicting that it would have been the Italian that would be pope. And what a shock it was. A shock, not an unpleasant shock, a shock in terms of the fact that they went way south. Even the Pope himself, Pope Francis, had to say, ooh, they went far to find me, but here I am, you know. So it was such a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful thing to see, to witness. I was watching it up until I started the show. I searched for it again when I went back to one of the religious channels, EWTN. I watched it again, and my daughter is going, are you watching that again? But it was just a day so filled with history. And the fact that the new Pope is such a humble man. And, you know, people were describing him like showing strength and commitment, clarity, solid, secure. Those are the qualities of a Jesuit priest and a Jesuit bishop. So, you know, we now have a new pope. We can move forward. We have a new pope for Easter. Imagine that. They actually made it for Easter. And you can see a lot of folks were there, you know, because they were sad that there is no female or woman in the priesthood. And they were there to say, here we are, we need to have this. And they were talking about their pink smoke. But there was no one there that seemed to be disappointed or unhappy that he was selected the Pope, even though they might have had someone else they were thinking about. There was no disgruntled person in that massive crowd. And CNN and MSNBC went through the crowds and tried to find people. Everyone was so positive and so blessed, and you could feel his humility through the television screen. It was absolutely what I call increíble. And wow, what a day this was. This was a day that encompassed my word wow. Because I have things on the program that always wow me, and this is one of them. What a wow day this was, a historical day. But a lot of people are still wondering, is he going to address things like inclusion of women in the priesthood, birth control, accepting gays for who they are, abortion, talking about that, allowing people to marry, you know, and not being so strict on divorces and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, people are hoping that he's more progressive, but then again, it is said that he's a very conservative pope, a very conservative person he's been all his life, and especially the fact that he is Jesuit makes him conservative. So we have to just kind of wait and see. And wow, it's just amazing and fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. And I never heard anyone say today 3:13:13, but I'm saying it here on the Diana Wright Show Live, and I wonder how many people realize that this was a historical day of the threes. Yes, it was. All right, so it was a quick decision after 2 days, 5 ballots. So that means there was, everybody was in agreement pretty quickly. So nobody was, kind of promoting him as the person to watch or anything like that. They were kind of, promoting the Italian, So this is actually incredible. Third straight non-Italian Pope. Yes. Pope Francis the First, man of humility, man of grace seemingly, gave up his palace. Can you imagine giving up your palace that you get to live in Buenos Aires, Argentina? And then you decide that you just want to live in a little apartment? And of course he gave the government his share of his mouth, so they were like usurping his mail and watching him. Are they going to come to the Vatican and watch him now, I wonder? They won't, because you see, he's now the Pope. And I'm just curious as to how he will adjust to living in the Vatican. Because the Vatican is a country unto itself. It comes with lots of pomp and pageantry and frills and furbelows and, privileges and power and all that. But he seems so humble and almost unimaginable that he would adjust to the lifestyle of the Vatican. Wow. We congratulate you, Pope Francis the First. So we are now finished with the Benedicts and the 16. We're now into a new era of Francis the First. So a lot of people are wondering, at 76, isn't he too old? But he seemed quite strong to me when he came out, walking out of that curtain. And I figure, well, if we have 10 years of a good pope, now Pope Benedict has set a precedent of resignation. So maybe this pope, if he can't go on, he will resign, as opposed to having another sad occasion where you have to wait until the pope dies before someone else can be elected. So we'll see how that works out, because I figure, if he can give us 10 or 12 good years and he looks like a pretty, healthy, strong 76-year-old, then, we should be grateful for that, because at least in my lifetime and your lifetime, you will be able to see another pope come to us. Maybe the next one will be from Africa, or the next one might be from America. You never know. Great things. I heard one young lady say miracles do happen, and it happened today. So I told you, God is still in the miracle working business, and that's the reason. And you see the love spewing out of Pope Francis the First. So that's the reason I'm saying to you, that's my crusade on this show. That's the reason for this show. I wanted to use this show as my platform to crusade for people to love themselves and teach their children to love themselves. Because, you see, if we don't do that, because I was just so tired of seeing people trying to be somebody else, trying to want someone else's life, trying to get what other people have, and never about what do you really want? What are your needs, your personal needs? What are you feeling? What is tingling you in your heart that makes you tick? And that's the reason for this crusade. So I tell you what, Pope Francis the First, he said he's an evangelist. Everyone said that, not him today. But I am sure he's going to be out there recruiting people and evangelizing. And it seems to me that he will take the church back to its humble beginnings. The fact that the Catholic Church used to take care of the poor and the needy and the downtrodden. And they are now guessing that he's going to take them back to where they started. And not all of this sexual abuse, and people are wondering how he's going to handle that, how he's going to deal with that. But we just have to wait and see where that is concerned. The Western Hemisphere, it's the first time a pope has been selected from the Western Hemisphere. That is historical. And don't forget that the Catholic Church is actually growing in places like Brazil, Africa, the Philippines, more than it's growing in the United States. Because, of course, you know, most of the abuse seems to have occurred in the United States. I don't know if it may have occurred other places and people are just not talking about it. But the coming out has been coming out greatly in the United States. So we hope that he can probably take some time to deal with that. I gather that he is a guy that, you know, just speaks his mind and takes care of things. And I gather that he was actually quite critical of the Vatican and how it's being run and whatever is going on there, you know, the various things about the Vatican and money and all that kind of stuff. So poverty, humility, simplicity. That is what he represents. Rebuilding the Catholic Church. Vice President Joe Biden will lead the delegation, the U.S. delegation, to the installation of the Pope, and that will be on the 19th of, yes, the 19th of March. So, that's just around the corner. So, yeah, I wrote that down somewhere. I did, but it is. It is the 19th that we will see the installation, and we just hope that, you know, as they say about him, that Jesuits are normally people of commitment, clarity, solid and secure, and they actually do speak their mind. So that means 2/3 of the vote came in for none other than Pope Francis I. So he said his mission is going to be friendship, love, trust, and faith. That's a journey he's hoping to take us on. And I hope we'll all be going for the ride. Whether we're Catholic or not, we can still acquire those things in our respective faiths. So friendship, love, trust, and faith. That's the journey. That's the journey that he'd like to take us on. Alrighty, March 19th. Yes, I was correct. Is a date set for installation of the new Pope. And you will see the delegation from the United States led by Vice President Joe Biden. Everyone was hoping, I think Chris Matthews was one of those people hoping that President Obama, even though he's not Catholic, would have gone. Joe Biden is Catholic, so I guess that's the reason the president decided to send him. So I think that's appropriate. And the president is busy trying to schmooze these Republicans who are just kicking him to the curb like Paul Ryan and the crazies, you know. Wow. Some other stories in the news today. I feel like I don't want to leave the Pope. I just want to stay and talk about the Pope all night. But I'm sure you all watched it, and I'm sure you all enjoyed it. And I'm sure you'll be watching to see what he does next. There's an order of things to come. And I'm going to research that and find that out, because no one was able to say exactly what happens now. They were saying, yes, he's supposed to come to the United States in 2015 for a celebration in Philadelphia, and he's supposed to go to Brazil, some youth celebration. So we will see where he goes first. I think Brazil is probably the first place they think he's going to go, but you never know what's being planned behind the scenes. There'll be no more black smoke or white smoke, because my goodness, I screamed so hard. My husband was on the phone and he said to me, "Why are you making all that noise? Why are you screaming?" I said, "White smoke, white smoke." So there was white smoke today, and of course today was my wonderful guest, Dax Dunn, who talked so much about wellness, and hoping that we can take you on a journey of wellness and loving yourself. We take you on that crusade, and we hope that we can just encourage you, uplift you. Life is never always perfect, but it's what you do with the life that you have. You just got to get up and do something about it, because no one else is going to do it for you. You have to find your own happiness. You cannot allow yourself to go down in the hole of depression and not come out. I know there's a friend of mine right now who is deep down in depression because she can't find a job and there is no money. But I wish and pray for her tonight that she comes out of the blue and into the green, because God has a way of just giving you what you don't expect. Because Pope Francis the First was not expecting to be Pope. Look how humble he is, and look at what God gave him. God gave him something that he never dreamed he would have. And I am here to tell you that I live in the supernatural, and I am expecting, because you must have expectation. I'm expecting that God will do something for you like he did for Pope Francis today that is extraordinary. Something you just didn't expect, but something good. Because even though Pope Francis I did not expect to be Pope, God gave him more and bigger than he could ever have imagined. So why don't we embrace that and believe that God will do the same for each and every one of us around the world and in the United States, as I welcome you once again to the Diana Wright Show. And thank you for joining me, and hope that I can lift you up, encourage you, inspire you to be a better you, a you that loves you, because it's important that you do. I move now to a story that disturbed me greatly today. And that's a story about, let me just turn this thing down. Yes, there you go. That's a story about the military. And we hear about the military, and we hear about rape in the military and sexual abuse and all that kind of stuff in the military. But who knew that men and women are being raped in the military? And when they speak up, they're reassigned, they're drugged, they're ostracized, they're put to the sidelines. Because the people with the power are the ones that are doing the raping. They have serial rapists in the military. Thanks to Chuck Hagel, our new defense secretary, he wants all of those convictions to be looked at to make sure that justice was served. And Senator Gillibrand from New York, she has taken up the cause. And she is ready to fight for those victims. I saw those women telling their tales when they went into the military. They were 18 and being raped. What a sad state of affair. And what a sad story to note that that is happening in our military, our great military of this country, the United States of America. So I hope that Defense Secretary Hagel and Senator Gillibrand will get on the case, and she's already on the case, and do something. Do something for justice. Settle the injustice and make it right. All right, so just reminding you of a few things here before we continue. Don't forget, April 30th is International I Love Me Day. It's just going to be like Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day started small, just like my day, which is National International I Love Me Day. It started small too. And you see, it's great when you accept where you begin, because you never know the journey that God will take you on. So we'll see how the journey of the Diana Wright Show goes, but I promise you, it's going to go a long journey. And we just hope that while we are on the journey, we're helping you to love yourself and to teach your children to love themselves. We just hope. And we also hope that we're giving you information that you probably didn't have time to check or see or hear about, that will uplift you and make you healthy, like we talked about with Dax this morning about wellness. So, we're hoping we can give you some juice. Anyway, just reminding you that come March 20th, Blacks for Immigration Reform will be taking place out of New York. Buses will be leaving New York to Washington, D.C., and that's their platform is Blacks for Immigration Reform. And the person to contact is Elder Will Seaton, The number 646-239-7847. That's 646-239-7847. His email address is cushunited@gmail.com. That is CUSH united@gmail.com. So that is the 20th, and they're asking you to join them. There'll be breakfast, a free breakfast in the morning, a free bus ride to Washington to go to support immigrants. You don't have to be an immigrant, undocumented alien, as they might call you, or illegal alien or illegal immigrant, whichever word you want to put to it. You can just go in support of. So we encourage you to do so, and we encourage you to call Elder Will Seaton to get further information about the ride to Washington, D.C. All right. And also I have something here, Praise Time Promotions, Jesus Lives. That will take place, actually it's this weekend, March 16th, and that will take place in Lauderhill. And some of the people that will be performing includes Anointed Voices, led by my friend Jay, and the Second Chance will be there. Dr. Douglas will be there, and another brother called Brother Robert. Don't know Brother Robert, but he'll be there too. So you can go out and have yourself a good time at that concert this weekend. All right. Saw this story and, caught my eye, of course, because it involves Jamaica. Authorities in the U.S. and Jamaica team up to tackle persistent phone scams. I know someone, good friend of mine, who got one of those scams, and they were good enough to not be scammed. I myself got one of those calls, but you know me, when I answer my phone and someone doesn't sound right or they sound crazy, I just hang up. I don't even have anything to say. That's it, done, boom. Like the young man who was calling here last week to say he's calling me from Microsoft because there's a problem with my computer. Excuse me? A problem with my computer? Okay, sir, I don't deal with those things, so do call my husband back after 6 o'clock. And he was brave enough to call back. So these guys are brazen, and they are preying on the elderly. So if you have anyone calling you to say they're calling you from Microsoft, please don't indulge them. Just hang up the phone. Easy, simple. Hang up the phone. And these Jamaican scammers are actually bringing shame to Jamaica because of this. The authorities have actually said that. So, as we continue with this story, 109 Jamaicans have been charged so far under a cooperative effort between the U.S. and Jamaica to crack down on phone scams targeting the elderly Americans. And this is in an effort known as Project Jolt. That's J-O-L-T. Project Jolt. It's going to try to weed that out. So if you're one of those elderly people getting those phone calls from Jamaica, please hang up your phone, because authorities say Jamaican scammers have become increasingly sophisticated, aggressive, and successful at talking elderly Americans out of millions of dollars. As a matter of fact, so many Americans have been scammed that Jamaica has claimed it's actually hurting the Jamaican reputation. That's how bad it is. Okay? So we just want to encourage you, if your phone rings and it's a strange person on the phone, just hang up. Just the way you used to hang up on me when I was calling about Barack Obama. A lot of people just kind of say, okay, not Democrat. Boom. So, the elderly seem to get scammed by a lot of these scammers, and they prey on them. So I'm pleading to all you senior citizens who are home, please answer your phone. Don't be afraid to answer your phone, because you don't want them to drive the fear in your heart so that you don't answer your phone, because that's not right. Okay? But there's also a man that was ripped off $400,000 in this whole scam 81-year-old Norman from Baltimore. He was ripped off almost $400,000. Why? Because his wife is in a nursing home and he just wanted to have enough money to bring her home back to her house where he can care for her there. That is what I call love. But you cannot allow love to make you do crazy things like this. So he was actually ripped off $400,000. And some of the scams they're doing is a lottery scammers, who what they do is they promised him millions in cash and a new car, no doubt, once he paid the taxes on the winnings. So they call you up and they tell you won this lottery, but in order to get the money, you have to pay X amount of taxes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the lottery doesn't work like that. If you win the lottery, the government takes the taxes before you get your money. So you don't have to pay anyone any taxes to get any lottery. And who would be calling you? How lucky would you be for someone to be calling you to give you some money? Just think about it. So I'm pleading to all the elderly, the senior citizens that might be hearing my voice watching this program, or if you're not a senior citizen and you know one, please tell them about this scam that's going on, that's being perpetrated by Jamaicans who have become so sophisticated. Please do that, because you will be helping an elderly person like 81-year-old Norman from Baltimore, who lost over $400,000. Isn't that shameful? Norman got caught up in the Jamaican scam because he needed the money, of course, as I said before, to move his wife, Cindy, who was suffering from dementia, from a nursing facility back into their house. Wow. Love makes us do crazy things, but we cannot allow it to make us blind to the truth and to reality. All right? So, it's not always greed that makes you want money or strive for money or fall for one of these scammers, because trust me, it's not stupid people that they scam. I have seen doctors and lawyers being scammed, not only by Jamaicans but Nigerians. And I am going, is he a doctor? Is he supposed to be smart? Yeah. But if you're like me, just like your door, if someone comes and knocks on your door, why are you opening your door and you're not expecting anyone and you don't know the person? If someone knocks on your door and you don't know who it is and you did not expect someone, do not answer your door. Simple. There are certain things that we must set as principles for ourselves so we don't get caught up in this whole, I opened the door and this guy pushed me back in and raped me and robbed me. That should not be happening, because you should not be letting him in the first place. Because if someone comes to your door and knock on your door and you're not expecting them, first of all, you don't even let them know that you're home, because you're not home. Why are you ringing my doorbell? Do I owe you something? Do I know you? If I don't, why are you here? So in order to not get yourself in any kind of trouble or altercation with anyone, you then not answer your door. And if they stay there too long, you may need to just call 911 and say someone is breaking down my door. That's my advice to you. Don't approach crazy people because there are crazy people, okay, in this world. All right, let's go on now to another crazy set of crazies. First of all, you might have known by now that tonight Ed Schultz is going to be carrying the man who actually recorded that famous 47% comment by Mitt Romney, who is still living in denial and lies about the fact that he said and made the comment. Now, Mr. Romney was on Fox News on the 3rd of March, to be exact, and I could see Chris Wallace sitting there looking at him blank, as if to say, man, what are you saying? Because he was saying things like, I wrote it down. What I said was twisted and disturbed. And I didn't mean it. It didn't come out right. What was said was not what I mean to say. Excuse me? It was on tape. And I looked at that tape, and just the fact that I heard that tape over and over again today just ticked me off all over again. How dare Mitt Romney talk about 47% of us who want this and want that. I am expecting nothing from the government but from them, for them to go to Washington and do their jobs. And I'm expecting, what am I expecting? That the Republicans and the Tea Partiers who hate the government so much and want smaller government, they all need to resign and go home. And I do hope that people will never, ever, ever vote again unless they see some progress in Washington. That's what my hope is. I'm not expecting nobody to give me anything for free. I don't know who the hell he was talking to. And who the hell does he think he is to talk about 47% of us who he just kind of dismissed. And his running mate Paul Ryan dismissed 30% of us. And he has the nerve to be lying about that tape. Because it's just lying. You're on tape saying this, looking very relaxed, I must say. And the person who recorded this, he didn't record it to catch Mitt Romney in anything. He recorded it because there were lots of cameras there, I gather, and everybody was recording and taking pictures and doing all kind of stuff. But when he heard what Mitt Romney was saying, he realized that his tape had captured something valuable. And he decided, and I gather he said that there were sleepless nights that he pondered and wondered what he should do about this. And so he did do something about it. Because he realized that he was one of the 47% that Mitt Romney was addressing at that fundraiser in Boca Raton. So yes, the people who serve you, the people who wait on you, the people who clean your house, the people who take care of your children, why do you hate them so much? They're just people. They just don't happen to have $1 million in the bank. So why? And why does Mitt Romney don't just admit, I said it, I said it, I said it, and that's it? Because we know he said it. We saw him on the tape because you could look through the crowd and see him standing looking so relaxed. I've never seen him so relaxed in the entire campaign and primaries. So how dare he come on Fox and lie? He didn't mean to say it. Say what you mean and mean what you say, as the judge said, the title of her book. Don't be trying to worm your way out of this. There's no way out of it. Just say, I said it, forgive me, I repent, and move on. Instead of trying to make up some cockamamie story about, oh, what you said was twisted and disturbed, and oh my God, it's just incredible. And then you have Ted Cruz, another crazy Republican, joining hands with Paul Ryan to talking about today. What is he trying to prove anyway? He wants to repeal Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act. Absolutely not, Mr. Ted Cruz. Didn't you get the memo that it is the law of the land? And I don't think the Affordable Care Act is going anywhere. Yes, it needs to be tweaked and twisted and fixed so that people don't rip us off. Because yes, they rip off Medicare every day. Doctors and people setting up fake companies and all these women who are robbing the government, Medicare. But you see, the thing about Medicare and Medicaid, when you actually point out to them that someone is ripping them off, they take a long time to even acknowledge that you actually sent them something. Because you have to keep doing it over and over again. Don't they have people over there looking at the letters that you sent back to them? Because you get bills and you see, people see that they're being charged for things they weren't even in the hospital and they were said they were in the hospital. And when they send it back to Medicaid, Medicaid obviously doesn't do anything right away. They just keep sending it back to you. So the government actually sets up themselves to be ripped off by people. Lots of people have ripped off Medicare. So what the government needs to do is fix Medicare in terms of its efficiency and make sure it's run properly and people cannot gain the system. And then do the same thing with Medicaid and everything else. Because there are companies out there who just set up themselves as these little shadow companies and try to rip people off. And rip off the government mainly. Anyway, the Republicans seem to be only able to look backwards. Obamacare is gone, done. Supreme Court done. And they are still looking to repeal it. Can the Republicans actually come up with something that moves us forward? Because you know, the Obama campaign, their slogan was forward. So why are the Republicans going backwards every time? Look at Paul Ryan. He goes backwards because he comes and he gives you the exact same budget that he gave before the election, only stealing some of President Obama's ideas. That's about all he changed, but it's the same budget. So why do they keep going backwards? Mitch McConnell again today, talking about it is that Republicans, you know, they have to deal with the spending cuts and there'll be no more revenue, and he's just going on and on. And I just believe that he should retire and be like Pope Benedict XVI and say, I'm tired, I can't do this job anymore, go home. Mr. McConnell, Mr. Want to make the president a one-term president and I will do nothing else but that. I wonder what he's doing these days, because he only comes out once in a while these days, you know. I'm kind of worried about him because he has elections coming up next year. I'm not going to say 2014. I'm saying next year because it's right around the corner. As you quit, 2013 will be gone. So he has elections coming up. So I bet he's a little worried because Ashley Judd is gnawing at his heels by about, I think, what, 5 points? 5 percentage points or something like that, the last poll I saw. So for a man who's been there, who take home the bacon to the folks in his constituency, I don't know. Maybe they think you just need to get a break. Go home. Go fishing. Go traveling. Go do something and stop the hating. Because I'm not convinced, you see. Is it my question for this day? This is my question for the day. Is it that Republicans hate us because we are middle class, poor, black, brown, immigrant, and the rich is just the best? That's my question to you today. Is the Republicans just simply haters? And they don't like anyone but rich white men or middle class white men or white men in general? What is it about the Republicans? You should like everybody. You don't know us, so how do you not like us? Mr. Romney doesn't know me, and yet he was willing to put me in a lump of 47%. He doesn't know you, but he put you in the 47%. Who was he really talking to? And why doesn't he just come out and admit it? I think we would respect him a little more if he just said, yes, I made a mistake, I should not have said that. But don't try to talk about, that's not what I meant, it didn't come out right, and all this kind of baloney. Ooh, wow. Moving along to the politicians again, right here in Florida. Wow. The first black woman born in Trinidad, Lieutenant Governor of Florida, Miss Carol, resigned today in a very short note to Governor Rick Scott, taking effect immediately. Racketeering. Oh my, oh my. Gambling, conflict of interest, She even doctored some documents to make her company get a contract. Oh my God. I was reading the story today and I just couldn't stop reading it. I kept reading and reading and reading and reading it over because I'm going, no. Her son is a Dolphin player. He plays for the Dolphins, yes. And she decided that this was the journey she was going to take after she got such a great opportunity to be the first black woman to be lieutenant governor of Florida, and this is the way she repaid God. I am totally and utterly amazed at these people who get these opportunities and kick God in the face. Because that's all it is. Greed? How greedy can you be? The chief of staff who had to resign, he was making $189,000 a year. That couldn't keep him? I now know that she was indeed a Navy vet. So under the cloak of that, she did her wranglings. Because there's a charity that was supposedly doing this, but in the shadows, what they were really doing is illegal gambling. Oh my goodness. That is just so shameful. She had been seen as a rising star in the Republican Party. Before a slew of bad headlines starting to hit us with her, she served as one of the national chair for 2012 Republican nominee Mitt Romney's Black Leadership Council. Carol's resignation comes 2 days after Florida law enforcement officers interviewed her about involvement with Allied Veterans of the World. That's a non-profit that operates internet cafes in Florida. Officials from Allied Veterans and Nelson Cuba, the president of the Jacksonville, Florida Order of Police, were arrested on racketeering charges after an investigation by the IRS and the Secret Service. Allied Veterans is accused of money laundering, using money from a non-profit for personal gain again, and misrepresenting the amount donated to that charity. Authorities say the group donated only 2% of $290 million in proceeds to charities over about 5 years. Former president got himself $1.5 million. The national commander, he got $250,000. Carol owned 3N&JC, that's a consulting firm for Allied Veterans, and she also starred in their commercial in 2010. My goodness, wow. And I could go on and on and on, because there's also forms that she forged and changed around to make her company qualify for contracts that were given by the government. How do you have a position like the lieutenant governor of the state of Florida, and you are doing something like this behind the scenes? Now, how does that make our governor look? Well, he accepted her resignation, and he accepted his chief of staff's resignation and hired someone else. So I'm just wondering what else is going on up there in Tallahassee that we don't know about. Who else is going to be arrested and charged with racketeering and money laundering and illegal gambling? Wow. It is just amazing how people will do things because they're simply greedy. Now, I am sure that she was making more than the $189,000 being made by the governor's chief of staff, who had to also resign. I'm sure. At least I hope she did. So, she just could not live on that. She had to go try to be deceptive and change up forms and do wrong things. And I just asked today, I asked my husband today, I said, let me ask you something. When people are doing these bad things, Are they thinking about the consequences or are they not? He thinks maybe they are thinking about the consequences, but you know, the money outweighs the consequences. And I'm just totally flabbergasted about this today. I was so disappointed this morning. He's saying I should not be disappointed because, you know, these people just do their own thing and they don't care about us anyway. So why are you disappointed? I'm just only disappointed because these people are people that are supposed to be not necessarily role models, but people that you're happy for, that they actually got that position, that one person actually made it and had so many good things behind her name. First black woman to be lieutenant governor. First black politician, female. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. So you actually expect them to do right and behave in the right manner. But sometimes I guess we're expecting too much from people and we get disappointed and deflated when they don't come true and when they go and do stupid things like these. It is just a shame. And I'm sure we're going to see more things coming out of Tallahassee. I bet you this is not the end of it. I guarantee you it isn't. Okay. Let's go now to some hacking story. The First Lady was hacked. Vice President Biden was hacked. Paris Hilton, Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State, Kim Kardashian, Jay-Z, Beyonce, just to name a few. How does this happen? I know the computer is a powerful thing and they were giving out people's addresses and social security numbers and telephone numbers and financial information in the case of Jay-Z and other private information. How on earth do hackers get to do these things? And we're told that the website uses an internet suffix assigned to the Soviet Union. Wow. Well, I get that the president is looking into the hacking scandal out of China that China has denied. So I hope and pray that our little lives will not be hacked, because you should be able to have some semblance of privacy in your life. I don't want to know Kim Kardashian's number by default. I would want to meet her and have her give me her number. Same thing for the First Lady and anybody else. It's their private business. No one has the right to invade people's privacy like this. Wow. So I hope they find out who it is and deal with them quite harshly. I gather the police is on the case, so we'll see what happens and what comes of that. Okay. Mosquito. Oh, how does he get in here? Can you imagine? There's a mosquito in the house. Anyway, good news out of Europe today for people who are flying and people who are stuck on runways for hours. New rights for airline passengers in Europe. The European Commission unveiled the new rights. They include rerouting travelers with rival carriers if a flight is delayed for more than 12 hours. The rules also clarify what are considered exceptional circumstances for compensation. Example, mechanical failure on board the aircraft does not count, but national disasters and traffic control strikes do. New rules should take effect and become law in 2014. So if you're stuck on the runway in Europe, I know one woman sued one of the airlines because she was stuck on the tarmac, and I think she had to pay hotel fees for like 938 pounds or something like that, and she actually won the case. So we are hoping that this travels to the United States too, so that when you're stuck on that tarmac in the hot plane for hours and hours and hours and hours, you should be compensated. And if indeed there's a strike or anything like that, because you know in Europe, oh my God, you could be on that train and those Italians go on strike, or those Spaniards, okay? So you better be careful when you go to Europe and know when you're taking the train that you're getting back, because it happened to us when we were in where were we? I think we were in France. And yes, and when we were taking the train in Italy, everybody kept saying, you sure you want to take the train? Because they could go on strike at any moment. So just in case, the Europeans are putting some things in place, and hopefully that will funnel down to the United States. Mayor Bloomberg is not giving up his fight, and I love him for it. I love you, Mayor Bloomberg. Do not give up the fight, because these people need to understand that when they're gulping down that extra size, super size soda with all that sugar, it's not good for them. And yes, he's correct. The government is the one that's taking up the brunt of this whole thing, because the government is the one that has to pay for your health care when you destroy your health. So hooray to Mayor Bloomberg for not giving up. He is fighting this case, and we trust that he will fight. The mayor says obesity is the biggest driver of healthcare costs, and he knows he will win. I like a guy like that. No rights are being violated, he says, or taken away. People are just being given information. So you can go and you can drink 10 of the super size if you want. But he wants you to know and understand what you're doing while you're doing it. And if you want to kill yourself, go ahead. But the ban is there to remind you about the danger to your health. So we just praise and give glorious hands to Mayor Bloomberg for sticking up. That's New York mayor, of course. I think everyone knows him by now. But just in case you don't, it's New York's Mayor Bloomberg. He is the man, and he's the man that puts in the ban and makes sure they stick. Not like Florida, who puts in the ban of you can't smoke in the park or public places, and everywhere you go that's public, people are smoking and no one is actually looking at it. So, wow. President Obama's lunches and dinners don't seem to be going very well. Some people are saying that he's just doing it for the press. They are quoting one White House insider that is anonymous about saying that. But the new chief of staff for the president, he is a new guy in town. So I'm thinking that he might be the one that's saying to the president, look, these guys want you to go out to dinner with them. They want you to come to Capitol Hill. They want you to schmooze with them. They want you to hang out with them a little bit. We know you're busy, but let's try this. I have a feeling that's a new guy that's trying it. And I do resent the fact that Republicans have to be smooched and given dinner and breakfast and lunch to do their jobs. I don't think the president has to do that. It's a good thing he's doing it, because people should be able to, you know, enjoy each other's company while doing a little business. But the president was obviously doing this reach out behind the scenes, but Republicans were refusing, like Mitch McConnell and Speaker Boehner, refusing to go to watch the preview of Lincoln the movie at the White House, talking about short notice. What short notice are you talking about? There's no short notice. You need to have gone and do this. Yeah? And then there were lots of other things that the president was inviting them to, and they were just not accepting the invitation. So I guess the new chief of staff has said, let's put it in public, because now they can't say you weren't reaching out. And I want each of you as voters out there, don't be fooled. The president was reaching out for the past 4 years. The Republicans were just not taking the invitations. Remember Mitch McConnell? His number one priority was to make Obama a one-term president. So how could he have been doing anything else? He could not have accepted an invitation, because he would then look like a hypocrite if he's going to eat the president's food, and hopefully he wasn't going to pay for it. So here it is. Judge for yourselves, and don't allow. I see the president's approval rating is dropping. I don't know who they're polling, because nobody calls me. And they like to tell you that his approval rating is dropping. Dropping for what? He's doing the job as best as he can with the Republicans that he is given. And if I would only get the ear of Paul Ryan and Some of those Tea Party guys who are saying they don't like government, they hate government, and they want smaller government, please go home. The government will be smaller for it. The expenses will be less for it. Why don't you go home? How can you be seeking a job for a place that you hate so much and want to be small? And you're just going there to add to the bigness. How? Are these guys thinking about what they're saying before they say it? Or they're just talking? Well, I personally believe that Ted Cruz is trying to make a name for himself. Paul Ryan is trying to make a name for himself in terms of, because he didn't make it good enough in the campaign with Mitt Romney. So he's going to try to make another flash, another splash. Marco Rubio, same thing. And I guarantee you, before this year is out, those three will be at war among themselves, because they're all fighting for the same thing, trying to be the crown jewel of the Republican Party, trying to be the head or trying to be the face of the Republican Party. And we must all remember that Marco Rubio is a Tea Party candidate. Ted Cruz, to me, is just crazy. And Paul Ryan is not the smartest guy in the room. Believe me, he's not. Okay. All right. Wow. Time to go. My goodness. The time just flew off just like that. Come tomorrow, we're going to have a nice chiropractor with us to talk to us. His name is Matthew Simon, and he's a chiropractor. You know that chiropractors are not quacks anymore. So he'll join us inside the program tomorrow morning at 10:30 a.m. Yes, it's morning. We know. Hope we can get you out of the bed. Hope that you... I think I've gotten over my losing my 1 hour sleep because of daylight saving time just today. I actually felt like I got some sleep. So hope you did the same, and hope that you can join me tomorrow morning at 10:30. And if you don't join me tomorrow morning at 10:30, I would like for you to then go to YouTube or go to my website and see the program. Go to my website, click on the YouTube icon at the bottom, and you can go to YouTube, because you do know that we upload the program to YouTube on the same day, but it takes us a day or two to get it on the website itself. And we're asking you to love us on Facebook. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook. Email us at dianawrighttv@gmail.com. That's dianawrighttv@gmail.com. And give us a call when you can, and when you'd like to ask a question of the guests. We're going to try to encourage more guests to do it on Skype, so that you can actually see the guest along with hearing what they have to say. So we thank you so much for that. We had a great show this morning, and we hope we'll have a great show tomorrow. And come Friday, we will have Pastor John Gordon. That's John T's pastor. He'll be here, and we're going to talk about the church and hear what he thinks about the Pope, and wow, and some questions that I have about the church, and the fact that Elder Seaton spoke about the fact that a lot of illegal immigrants or undocumented workers that are here, female, are being abused by priests because they feel they can't speak up because they will be deported. And the priests are kind of holding that over their heads. So he just spoke about it, and it's something that we need to look at and try to fix. All right, so remember now, keep loving yourself. If you have to stand in front of that mirror and say it 50 times, 100 times, I don't care how many times you say it. I want you to love yourself and teach your children to love themselves. So join the I Love Me crusade on the Diana Wright Show live online. You will be a better person for it, and spread the word and tell your friends. And we hope that we have inspired you, uplifted you, and taken you somewhat out of the blue and bring you into the green. Go to my daughter's website, webpage at PAVIS miraclehealing.com, and check it out, and you will see part of my desperate journey for the past 6 years, and where I've been, and some of the things that have happened. You won't see a lot there, just pictures that will let you kind of get a picture in your head. But my book is coming out, Deadly Negligence, and I hope that you will pre-order and you will be happy to purchase the book. Also, come October 5th, Save a Life Jamaica Foundation will be having a great event to allow you to save a life through their foundation called Save a Life Jamaica Foundation. And of course, it's not just saving lives in Jamaica. That's a name just chosen. It's saving lives around the world and wherever we can. All right. So we give you that opportunity to do so. If you love something, set it free. If it comes back, it's yours. If it doesn't, it was never yours. Once again, thank you so much for joining me. Give me a call, 561-228-1921, 561-228-1921. Just want to let a lady know who might be just watching right now, the tape that you requested about step parents, it's being dubbed, but it's taking much, much longer than we thought it would. So I have your number. I haven't forgotten you. I have it right here on my desk. I'll give you a call when we have it, and we'll let you know how much it cost and all of that. But in the meantime, please visit my website, go around and look at my t-shirts and order some. Come on, we want to hear from you. Thank you so much for joining me again. Au revoir, ciao, and adios, and see you in the morning. Have a good night, and make sure you get a good sleep. Take rest.